like one of the things, like when I first heard about you, they were like, "Oh, he's the best American player," you know, and
Wow.
then for real, that was
Bro.
one of the that's how you were described to me,
Bro,
you know.
chill out, man. How are you gonna throw shade at the king? BB is sick like that. Okay,
VV6 is very good.
he's out there. All right.
There are a lot of people that are taking claim at your title, Jeremiah. So
There is.
tell
Uh,
us a little bit like your come up story, you know.
Well, I started playing poker about 6 years ago. So I was 15, I think, when I discovered poker. Before I played competitive card. We see a 4-bet from Daniel, by the way. I started playing. I played like a Pokemon, the card game, before. I was like debatably best in the world or top in the world in that.
Shulman is so proud of this fact about you.
Really?
When we played poker after dark, he was like, "Yo, have you seen this kid? Like, you gotta Google him. He was a fucking Pokemon monster." I'm like,
Wow.
I do see a cooler on table 2, top 2 versus top and middle, going to Daniel's way. Well, looks like we're getting a quick replay of that. There is a 4-bet pot also going on table number 1, with Daniel going with the small size on the monotone.
Expect quarter pot with probably like 80% of hands or something for Daniel, maybe more.
how do you feel about this
Yeah.
click?
Oh, I love this click from Doug. This is a very big thing in 4-bet pots at 100 blinds. This is something that most people don't do. I mean, you should probably be raising here like 30% of the time, primarily for this like clicky size.
What's the response, or what's the response whenever you're jammed and you're getting laid, what, 3.5 to 1? Is it? I mean, obviously you're calling it at MDF.
Yeah.
But how much of that click range, I guess, is doing so with the intention of giving up? I mean, we do see Doug check the turn, so I assume
There should be like, I mean, virtually like any pair of Dougs could do this. It's Mike mono flops are very good for the 4-bet caller, just because the in-position player should be 4-betting primarily offsuit hands as their bluffs.
Right.
And vice versa, the out of position is gonna be folding like all their offsuit broadways and calling their suiteds. So I mean, you just see this from like any flush, any pair really, like ace
Probably
8.
like hands with equity too that don't care if they get blown off, like 6-7 diamonds.
Yeah, those would be your X min raise into like fold range.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jack 10, 6, 7. But mono flops, you should see. I don't know if we're seeing this in the challenge, but Doug should do quite a bit of donk betting on. I mean, any 4-bet pot where you're out of position, you should do like quite a bit of donking.
He's done a lot of donking on like queen high, jack high.
Those are good boards to do it as well, specifically two-tone.
Daniel started with a pot size bet on the left table, got called. Turn went check. Now we land on the jack of clubs.
This is a weird spot if Daniel chooses to raise.
Wow.
I was just about to say, I don't know where he's pulling his bluffs from.
He went c-bet pot, check back.
Yeah.
This is very odd.
I feel like he would almost have to be pulling his bluffs from like ace king, ace queen,
Yeah.
one club, I guess.
Any pair should be too strong to turn into a bluff when it goes like bet, check back, facing quarter pot. Any pair. So it's just kind of unintuitive to find bluff raises here.
But like obviously he's gonna have flushes as played for
Yeah.
sure. So he needs to find some sort of bluff raise.
This makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. But more value. So like
Yeah.
I'm still kind of curious as to where we're pulling the bluffs from. That's a really good. I hate to call it thin value raise, but like on the surface it appears to be a pretty thin value.
Yeah, it's definitely like nearing the bottom, but so his value range is like fairly wide, but where the bluff's coming from, it's like
Yeah. Well, that size is pretty big.
Yeah, it's like
pot.
100%.
Yeah, I think it was roughly pot.
I like it. Played it good. We don't
Where
see
would
what
you all?
Doug
Where
called
would
with,
you both? Where would you both? Because you're both obviously raising the jack deuce on the river. Where would you take the bluffs from?
I agree with what Burpee was saying. I think you need to take those like ace high hands or maybe like a king queen with a club. There's not that kind of makes you wouldn't bet pot on the flop with these hands so much, but you could do it sometimes.
That's why I'm struggling to find the bluff, not
Yeah.
because I don't think we have them. It's because of the pot size bet on the flop.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to find. Like jack deuce feels like a pretty big one-off there. Maybe I'm not examining that spot closely enough, but
yeah, maybe you could maybe you could have king queen sometimes. I guess that would be like blocking the jack, like makes some sense, but.
What sizings are you using there, Jeremiah? Like on the 10, what was it? It was 10-3-2?
10-3-4.
10-3-4 on the flop size? Like, are you using pot at all? Or are you like simplifying maybe a 2-side strategy there that doesn't include pot?
I mean, how I play heads up, I'd mostly, almost every like node or situation, I'd want to have 2 sizes, and then.
I like you, man. I like this. Most people don't. I feel like that's not common in today's strategic realm. People are looking to simplify, not complicate.
You're going like small, and then like your big size at like somewhere between 66 and 75, and then the small being like between 25 and 33.
Yeah, I'll do like B30 and B75, or like B30 and B80. Maybe I wouldn't pot. I think that's 10-4-3 rainbow. I'd like. I'm sure it's a thing at like whatever solver lands, but it's all like sizing wise, it's all like fairly whatever. Like there's no difference between 80 and 100% really. Like.
Well, yeah, that's like kind of the thing is you can make anything a thing.
Yeah.
You just plug in the parameter. The complication becomes what does your river strategy look like whenever you start with 100% as opposed to 75%, right? Because it's a different range that is afforded to bet those sizes unless you're playing strictly exploitative.
Yeah.
And it might not be a massive difference, but there's certainly going to be a difference, and you have
absolutely
to
big difference.
I mean, like maybe we're pulling bluffs from 6s there, but that seems insane.
It's a weird hand to bet pot with.
Right.
So like
right.
Yeah, like you were just saying.
Yeah, actually that would be like one of the worst.
Yeah, like hands would be like jacks,
10-4-3,
ace 10, any like gut shot, whatever.
Yeah, ace deuce with the ace of clubs would be nice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be nice. I think that'd be like the one pair to choose.
That's a good point.
Jeremiah, poker out loud. The people are excited to have you on, man.
I'm in.
You'll have some headphones on. We'll get to hear, you already kind of gave us a little glimpse. Flop is just going to be very simple. Either 30% or 70%. Like that's it. We got to get you on turns and rivers.
Doug 3-bets.
Yeah, he's definitely increased his size as a whole, I would say, today compared to sessions past. I think that makes sense to me though. Like even if it's a nominal increase, as he's kind of like, I guess, stepping on the gas, just the more Daniel is studying, throwing different sizes at him and things like that, I think makes a lot of sense. Because I think that was like one of Doug's biggest edges probably for the first 10 matches is that Daniel was restricted to 2 sizes.
Oh yeah, he's doing the 20%, 75% thing or something, right?
Yeah, and it was just like, how easy is that to study whenever like you don't have to guess?
Yeah, you can just
accurately put it in his strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why Doug mixes up his sizes by like such little amounts. But I don't know.
3-bet. Now we're on the turn after a flop C-bet. Big size introduced. Call through. River ace.
Interesting river card. Daniel's gonna have all the ace 2, ace 3, ace x of diamonds, ace 5. Doug's just gonna have to check a lot. It's interesting, like what the bottom of Doug's value betting threshold is.
I'd be interested to know how often Daniel's bluffing this spot too, because I would imagine Doug pretty much has snap call, snap folds in range.
Yeah, his defense here is pretty easy.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, I don't want to say afraid from Daniel's side, but I wonder like how hesitant he gets to start ripping a hand like 6-7 or 7-8.
If we saw him check back 6-7, I would be.
It's it. But we would never know. I mean, Doug would know, but we would never know.
Oh, we don't get to see the showdowns, right? No. I mean, his bluff should just be like the 6-3 suited, 6-7s, like 8-6 of diamonds, like 7-8 of diamonds.
No, if it goes check, I think we see both hands.
Yeah.
No, only if it's in the inverse. So only if Daniel were to win the pot.
Yeah.
It goes in order.
Oh yeah.
Out of position to in.
Oh wow.
Ace
That's
deuce.
a king high hero
King
call.
high.
Wow.
Let me tell you something, Jeremiah.
I like that call,
that 6-5 bluff was not fucking getting through.
Wow. I think I like that call actually. Nut high card.
Do you like it in a vacuum or do you like it versus Daniel?
In a vacuum. Maybe not against Daniel.
Yeah.
but
I kind of think the same. Because I'm worried that like, okay, sure, he's gonna shove 6'3" and 6'7". Like they have zero showdown value. He just has to close his eyes and YOLO, right? But like, does he get all of them in there? Does he get the 8 high jams? Does he get, you know what I mean? Like at some point, I think maybe he just starts checking. Yeah. Another big one on the left. We missed $31,000 pot Daniel's way.
If Daniel doesn't value bet thin enough there, it could be like hypothetical. I'm not exactly sure. Say you're supposed to like value shove king queen there, and Daniel doesn't, or whatever. Then like king jack is a better call, but
right.
Weird, maybe like little weird 60% pot bet from Daniel on the flop, but I don't think it's weird. I think it's good.
On the
damn it, we almost had him. He said it's a weird one, and then he just snapped it back.
I was thinking of the other board.
Snapped it back and said, "Oh no, it's actually good. It's actually like kind of interesting."
No, that was a good bet. I was thinking of the 3 wheel board for some reason.
Also, like I really think this is worth doubling down on. You can't really criticize a flop strategy until you see how it compounds, right? So like if he chooses a wonky size, like say he chooses 125 on flop, like yeah, that's not anything we examined. It's not bad until he starts like over checking the turn. Yeah. Or like coming up with bad sizes on the turn as a follow through, right? Like, oh well, you went big on this street and now you know your opponent's like super narrow and you're just too wide and suddenly like you're still betting 3/4 pot or something like that.
Comes with the turnover bet now.
That's a big bet.
Call.
Good. Double flush draw.
Bet like 175 there?
Yeah.
It's a big bet.
It is quite large.
That's a big brick.
A large wager. These are the spots where you're just supposed to, I mean...
These spots get tricky in my opinion because like I think your weaker ace X is happy to do that on the turn for denial's sake, but then can't value river. Yeah. And that kind of like fucks a little bit with your value bet to bluff ratio now on the river because you will also have a lot of missed backdoors, missed open enders, things of that nature that go big.
I just would love to see Daniel call here.
What would you call with here, Jeremiah?
Fucking king queen of diamonds, man, or clubs.
You're probably just supposed to call like ace 3, ace 4 as like your bluff catchers, then like any like when Doug like when you just want to block like the 5, 10, 8, like any of those 2 pairs like 10, 8, 10, 5, ace 8, like these are all, I mean your call down range is like kind of intuitive once you're faced like 175 on the turn and this like these just 2 overbets, your range is like so.
I think the weird ones are like ace 6, ace 7, ace 9.
Yeah.
Because they interfere so much with Doug's.
I would fold all those.
How much does having like a diamond in your hand or a heart in your hand matter?
Nice.
Let's go.
3.
Good call.
Well played, Daniel.
Makes you nervous when he tanks that long, right? With the hands that you immediately, you recognize like that's the top of your bluff catching range. Well, you know, outside of traps. Of course,
yeah.
But
in a way, that hand is like better than 2 pair.
Yeah.
In a way, but like not. It depends on the 2 pair. Really, but
yeah. I don't know. Ace 10's pretty nice.
Yeah, ace 10's pretty nice.
Raise, 3 bet, call. 754 starts with the big bet, call. Go ahead. It was interesting.
You owe me $100.
I'm not sure.
So we're on.
So this kind of goes back to that earlier hand on the 5-4 deuce, right? Like there's big bet size here with
ace jack,
jack.
No diamonds.
Right.
It's just
you know, it's
it just seems like a mandatory river bluff. What are you BXB bluffing if you're not using the nut flush blocker there? Because he.
Oh yeah, it came through backdoor, right?
Yeah, like he had the nut flush blocker.
That's like the only reason to even have that hand in range. Why? I think the problem is the 6 makes a one-liner, so now Doug's bluff catching range gets wider.
So much of that's just gonna bet the turn though.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, not like 5, 6, 4, 6, 7, 6 might even bet the turn, but.
Yeah, I think like the X's and O's of the BXB in that spot on the R, it's like a little.
Yo, you can't hate on him. He's been saying B30 all day. You fucking love it. You're eating it up with a spoon. Chin loves the B30.
The BXB of the OB spot on the R.
Are these not common terminologies?
Yeah, this is a family show.
Here's what it is. Here's what it is, Jeremiah. All right. You can say that stuff because you're young, right? If I put out a tweet right this very moment that said, I'm not really sure about Daniel's BXB here with, or sorry, I'm not really sure about the line Daniel just took with ace jack, not blocker. I really feel like this is a BSB spot. I don't know what other bluffs you're going to be pulling from.
Yeah.
That BSB would be cropped out,
tweeted
across, BXB, sorry. tweeted across
language, my man.
the Twitterverse, just making up shit. You think you sound so fucking smart? Before all of this started, whenever they were kicking around the idea of playing, I was like, if I was in Daniel's shoes, where you have so much ground to make up, as far as like heads up strategy goes, I would just start by analyzing the thing that A would be my best weapon, which by and large is just volatility and variance, but B is maybe the area that Doug has studied the least, which is really big bet sizings. Because, the assumption was Doug hadn't played in 2 or 3 years and probably hadn't kept up with strategy trends and things like that. And of course, he's a very intelligent guy and can think theoretically and add that type of stuff. But I don't think that we expected him to come out swinging with like 3 and 4x pot bets, despite the fact that
there's a miss. I think there's a misclick on table 1.
We've seen him do this with kings. But yeah, I think you're right.
Nah, not like this.
No, you're right. It was like a 5-bet misclick. He'll probably just like check range after misclicking, I would assume.
I don't know if he even knows. I wouldn't know what to
That's
do
true.
after misclicking.
I would almost certainly just always check, but
Maybe he just
maybe you should just like always bet, because Doug doesn't know if it's a misclick or
It's funny.
strategy. But yeah, I was basically saying like I would spend some time just getting the entire database of Pluribus and just examining non-intuitive sizings and seeing like where I could fit that into heads up strategy, because it causes so many problems for somebody who's not prepared to defend, as opposed to like trying to get really good at third potting,
Yeah.
because like the strategy to third potting is just kind of intuitive and understood.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the exact opposite happened. Daniel built from the small sizing up, and Doug just came out and was like, okay, let me see situations where I can 5x pot shove river and just like start there.
Just a win.
Yeah, just like win. This reminds me of something. I mean, not pertinent to this spot because they're only 100 blinds effective, but we've seen Doug like 5-bet ripping for like 200, sometimes 250 effective.
250. Wow. Yeah.
We've seen Daniel 5-bet nothing except for like
Yeah.
kings, and it was like a fake misclick. So like I'm just wondering what. Basically, here's what I'm supposing, or not what I'm supposing, but what I think happens. Obviously, you can go as deep down the preflop charts tree as you want, dependent upon depth, right? Like you could build 6-bet ranges, you could build 7-bet ranges, depending on how deep it goes. And I'm sure Doug has a plethora of ranges or charts available from like 100 all the way up to 300, let's say. How much 5-betting do you think starts taking place after? Hello.
Oh,
Aces. Oh my god.
I thought he got there too.
I thought he got there.
I really thought he got there too. I'm like, wait, 5, 7. Okay, no, we're good.
So did Doug check shoved the flop, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
pretty
Great,
standard.
great from both. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel just flats the 3.
Standard cooler. Daniel won the all in.
But yeah, like how much 5-betting is taking place generally at 200 big blinds, and is this a spot where we see strategies start to diverge based on like preference or how you're building? Like, is it feasible to like really not even have a 5-bet range once you get to the 250?
So.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to not 5-bet. I think you should 5.
Now
200.
we're talking. I thought you were gonna say something interesting. Yeah. All right, let's go. I
You
want.
owe us 100 bucks.
I think.
I just had to throw an offer out there. Now I offer 5,000. Now he starts talking for real. Now he's like.
Well, at 100, I don't think you should do any 5-betting that's not all in. But at like
Right.
200,
Yeah,
I think I think you should do 2 5-bet sizes. One that is like about 2x, and then one that's all in. And I think the all in one should just be like ace king.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, that's interesting.
not much else other than ace king for all in.
Yeah.
And for I think everything else should just like 2x it or 2.2x it or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's all like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mistake, and I think you should be like 5-betting. You should be 5-bet bluffing. Like
For sure, obviously.
Like,
Well, so in my opinion, I think that's what becomes available once you get to depth. But then you have to look at it from the counterpoint of view too. So like, say we are 250 or 300 effective, and you have a guy like Doug who's just not really folding to 5 bets.
Yeah.
Right, because like his 4-bet range is pretty inelastic, with the exception of there'll be bluffs. But
I actually don't agree.
you think he's folding a fair amount?
I think he's gonna have like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, and he defends these hands, but I think like his all these Queen 10-0, King 10-0, Jack 10-0,
Start 4-betting.
Ace 5-0. That these hands are like pretty common 4-bet bluffs, and I think they would fold to the 2x 5-bet.
You think that those are common bluffs at depth too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like yeah.
I feel like you would get a little bit more linear with your 4-betting range.
But
maybe
that's fair.
maybe I'm overestimating.
That's fair. I don't know. I still like these hands as bluffs at deeper stacks.
Yeah.
Just and their folds against us. I mean, these things are all like so like, oh, what the solver says might not be like how the people play. So like if you do like a 2x 5-bet, maybe in practicing it, your opponent's never folding.
Right.
And the solver might
But like you could just you could kind of hedge and do 2.5.
Yeah.
It'll probably perform just fine.
I just think it's bad to not 5-bet.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I do think it's a tricky balance, but I also think that like if you feel that you're the player giving up BB per 100 win rate in a match like this, it behooves you to 5-bet.
It does.
Right? Like
Absolutely.
you want to fast track everything to as early of a street as humanly possible and as low as SPR as humanly possible. The last thing you want to be doing is playing like deep SPR spots on the river versus a superior player. And I think that a lot of people get that wrong because of risk aversion. Or maybe just like traditional theory.
Risk aversion, I think.
Yeah, but also like traditional theory kind of says like you need a pretty high equity threshold to start shoveling money in. But you kind of have to skirt that a little bit whenever you're like, well, I'm giving a lot up to this guy. So like maybe I just add a 3% extra frequency here, and rather than reducing it the opposite direction where it's like instead of 5-betting, 6.5% or whatever, it's just 0.
I feel like you 5-bet way more than 6.5%.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
like,
I'm just stabbing at the dark.
But I think that's what everyone does.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think you should 5-bet like 15 to 20%.
At depth, you're saying?
Yes, at
Yeah,
200 plus.
Yeah.
Mostly like 200. I haven't really studied like 300 blinds ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've studied like 200, 150, and 100.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think that makes intuitive sense to me in the way that as stacks deepen, effectively each aggressive action that's taken is diluted to where it would be if it were a shorter stack. So like the original open at depth is almost akin to just limping.
right.
The 3-bet is almost akin to opening. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of scales back one, and I feel like frequencies can get a little bit more aggressive, if you will. Like you can take some more chances just due to the massive SPR that you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. It's a great game. Heads Up is a great game.
2.5 SPR. Are we just range betting quarter regardless of board at this point?
I don't-
4-bet pots.
Think that's like necessarily the best strategy, but it seems to be what Daniel is doing.
Yeah,
feel
that's
like,
that's kind of been my take.
A board like this, you might want to do like some half potting, but
Mixed with checking, I assume.
yeah, some small percentage of check back. I think like doing these like simplification range, do small bet, or range like it could be anything. It doesn't have to be small bet. It could just like I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, a bit of a disservice at least.
Do you think jamming this turn?
Yeah. Well
You-
played from both,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Do you think that jamming that turn has any merit whenever it's a two-tone texture like that?
With ace queen?
Yeah. Well, let forget ace queen. Let's take that aside for a second. Do you think that there is a jamming range
No,
on that turn?
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't shove. I think
So you're just mostly resigned to the third pot.
yeah, you could. Yeah, I would mostly just third pot that turn.
Is it because it's a 4-bet pot and you don't feel like you have to protect very much versus
Yeah.
like there isn't the need for equity denial so much?
It's a bit weird as like the 4-better because your 4-bet bluffing range is going to be like offsuit.
Mhm.
You're not really going to have suited cards.
Right.
So it's like when you shove, what are you doing that with, just like an ace? Or like
Yeah, I mean,
jacks,
obviously you
maybe?
would be like reaching.
I like it seems a bit weird to like from like the stance of your range.
Yeah.
Just like what do you have, just an ace, and like your opponent's just going to like
I guess it matters if you're doing any 4-betting with like
Yeah.
mostly suited connectors would be
Yeah.
that portion of the range. But
Yeah.
you know, kind of to your point, if you have those types of hands, then your opponent's probably going to have
Yeah.
more top of range type stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. What a
crazy.
fucking run up. This is the stuff legends are made of, Jeremiah.
I'm glad to be here.
He's up
Daniel's
320,000.
This is awesome.
Just erased last session completely.
I feel like Doug's gonna call, man.
He has to. Like,
He's gonna
he
call
just has
the
a lot
queen
of
plus.
calls here. Yeah.
Maybe fold like some queen X. with,
Yeah,
like, really
Daniel's going to have
shitty
some 7-8,
blocker effects.
10-8 for bluffs. But he just got the
Oh,
king 6.
Wow.
He just got the
Votes.
king 6.
Votes.
Oh, that's 400.
Wow. That's like one of the only queens I think Doug might be able to get away from.
Yeah.
Blocking like 7-8, 7-5, 10-7, etc. Like without the club. They would like definitely always fire river. But I'm not gonna. That's probably still a call on the river sometimes.
You're down 10 buy-ins, man. You don't fucking fold pairs.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah.
Show it.
What are the thoughts there, Jeremiah, on the 3-bet and then the big bet on that board?
It's great. It was like queen 9-5 two-tone, I think, or queen 9-6 maybe.
Queen and
Queen
6,
at
yeah.
6.
Yeah, I mean two-tone, like it's like the board I was talking about earlier, Jack 9-5. Like I would have even gone to like slightly bigger than 3/4, but 3/4 is great. Like you want a 3/4 a lot. The king's a good turn for you. You're just gonna connect a lot as the aggressor. Makes a lot of sense.
Nice.
Well
Even
played,
with his
Daniel.
hand, right?
Yeah.
I think particularly with his hand, not to jump in, but like king 5 doesn't necessarily want to do this.
No.
King 6 is very happy to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, it was queen 9-6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense as a maybe it like looks a little unintuitive on the flop, but I think it's good.
I think it's important that when you have the ability to turn a polarizing hand, that's like one of the first qualifiers of can I bet big now? Right. If a 6 rolls off, the answer is just like, oh, go time. Like I'm the nuts. And when a king rolls off, as far as your range is concerned, and the relative strength of your hand, top and bottom, it's kind of the same thing. It's like this is kind of a two-way spot where I get to polarize, and then I also turn some bluff catching equity if the turn's like a 10 or a jack or
Yeah.
something to that nature. And he's
Believe there's 2 clubs on the flop, and Daniel had the king of clubs.
The king of
Yeah.
clubs.
So that
Yeah,
also,
Yep.
like, if you just had king 6-0 without that, like, I think that would be like less.
right.
Less
Now your
frequent.
king's a little bit less
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if the 6 was a club or not, but
Yeah,
that can become less.
I mean,
yeah. The king.
that
of
is
clubs,
a
I think
definitely
is
good
great.
question. The question is asked again: does Doug quit ever?
Nope.
Wow, 10 buy-ins, almost 11 buy-ins now for Daniel. This is crazy.
I literally think he would have to be losing 19 buy-ins.
We might be here for a while.
I think at 19 buy-ins he would quit.
Maybe here for a long while.
Ooh.
Oh my god, a click back. Wow. Wow. The solver has been set aside.
Yes.
Solver has been-
We in the streets, boys.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh!
What quads?
It's over.
oh my god!
Oh,
my
put him in a
God.
body bag.
Wow. Daniel with another stack.
Oh man, they have exactly what they're supposed to have whenever
Yeah.
like, some
Just
non
like-
bullshitty thing happens. Like, oh, we don't raise this flop.
Just bottom
Definitely don't
setting and
3-bet
top
this
2.
flop.
They just have it.
Yep.
Sit
Oh
cooler.
my god, we're gonna fucking
Oh
break
my
the fucking
God.
subside.
Maybe Doug could win against Jack 8 there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be a really terrible one by
Terrible
Daniel.
fucking raise from like
To
you
raise
put in
4-bet,
that many bets
Jack
in
8.
Jack 8.
Yeah, if he
The
like
raise would be fine. You just have to call the 3-bet.
yeah, I think so. Even though but like with how low frequency we're raising flop, I think like
Yeah.
choosing that hand sucks.
Jack 8?
Well,
The bottom 2 pair.
I understand what you're saying in the sense that like it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But like in comparison to the rest of our range,
Yeah.
that like doesn't do it at all.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do it very often at all.
Yeah, it just sucks to have the hand that like when the money goes in is just straight coolered.
Yeah.
Like you're just against aces
True.
or ace jack a lot.
True.
What did you like from each player though? Like what? Like especially Daniel, I guess.
He played some poker. He played some good poker today. I mean, he played his best. He played great. He did good.
Played his gosh darn little heart out, Christian. That's what we like to see. The man has spirit and fight.
He played good. I think they both played good today. Really.
I think that I think it's going to be interesting down the stretch. Like my takeaway is that I still think Daniel made a lot of mistakes, but that's to be expected. Yeah. He's the inferior player from a heads up perspective. However, there's a lot to decipher from this session. Like when things go that well, even if it's card distribution, what you can really iron out is, okay, we can look at all these spots where we made a whole bunch of fucking money. And we recognize that like we made a bunch of money because we had good hands maybe, but let's analyze it from the standpoint of like, how did we make a bunch of money with good hands? You know, what's going on in the counter strategy sphere? And in some of those spots, I'm pretty confident you're going to find that Doug was over bluffing. He may have been over calling. You know, he may have been missing some value himself, like the queen 9 spot. Whatever the case may be, I think that there's actual evidence that the supreme leader is making fucking errors. And that is absolutely, I guess, like, I'm a loss for words, but it's encouraging for Team Negreanu.
No, that's all true. I agree with that, yeah. Doug definitely makes errors as well. We're all human. And I'm sure there's, Daniel's team, and Daniel's got a lot to work on.
Jeremiah, you get a better price now on Doug. You can put the life savings on Doug now.
I might bet it all. I should did it 4-1 though.
This is the time. But I mean, hey, this is the best price way better price than you would have got yesterday.
That's true.
Yesterday, price was probably terrible.
I bet the price to bet Doug to win the second half is probably pretty favorable right now, because he's down what, 350, 400 now on the second half.
Yeah,
a
little less, half. Right? Like 350. So I think the opening price was like Doug was laying 2.5 to 1 maybe. So I think you were getting like plus 250 if you bet Negreanu. I bet it's probably close to like more like 3 to 2, 1.25 to 1 maybe on Doug.
What do you think, Jeremiah? Just back it up.
Just fire it.
Back it up, baby.
Throw some money on it.
Maybe that.
We're just waiting for the giveaway to finish.
Daniel does seem to be playing a lot better though from like the beginning of the challenge.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He was playing much better. I'm sure he's working very hard. He's doing much better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the criticisms are just the limiting scope of his strategy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that he's learning so much so fast that it's difficult for him to actually process why something is or is not a thing.
Right.
And because of that, like we're just seeing these like batch strategies kind of get applied, and we're just like, maybe that's a misapplication here, or like with that particular hand, I would have been thinking about this a little bit differently. It's easy for us to play armchair quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a great game.